Oh, I'm already feeling it. I've been sharing this information for about 10 years now. That has been little by little been revealed to me. Well, it was little by little being revealed for a couple of years. And then in 2007, I had a wonderful experience. I had an encounter with God, but to me it came in with the face of Jesus. I grew up Catholic, so I could recognize that face because I grew up with that face. I loved Jesus. I loved everything about Jesus. I didn't like what I was told. That didn't match what I, in my heart as a child, knew about Jesus. But when I had that encounter, I was shown what I am. I felt what I am, what we all are. And in that instance, everything changed for me. I knew what home base was. So I knew that whenever I would get in my ego mind and I would go out and be consumed by the world stuff, I knew what I was coming back to. And I had written a workshop right before that called The Power of Awareness. And when I wrote that workshop, I know that it was inspired because stuff I wrote, I had no clue about that stuff. I certainly wasn't living in a place of awareness. I didn't know about love and fear. I didn't know I could shift and lift. I didn't know those things. But when I wrote it, I knew that I had something that I was supposed to deliver. It's like this gift that I'm supposed to deliver to the world. I was like the spiritual UPS person. Ding dong, here's your package. And so I've been teaching the power of awareness for many years, sharing from a place of having had an experience. However, the amazing thing is that even though I knew what I was, I still had an ego mind. I still had my human programming that I needed to work through. So the knowingness that came in 2007 has taken me, 2015? So a good 8 years to go through the process of walking my talk. And it's still an ongoing process. I know truth. I know what home base is. I know what we all are. This is why I love sharing. This is why I love teaching. About 2.5 years ago, I discovered the Course in Miracles. I had people who would come to my workshops and tell me all the time, is your workshop based on A Course in Miracles? At the beginning, I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know the Course in Miracles. And they began to tell me, but it sounds so much like the Course in Miracles. So then I heard Marianne Williamson wrote a book about it. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got the book, but I never read Marianne's book. And a couple of years ago, as life would want me to experience this, I read the Course in Miracles. And for me, it was a profound experience. If those of you who are familiar with the book, you know how thick it is. It took me 3 weeks to read it cover to cover. I could not put it down because I was reading what had been shown to me. So I was reading things that were helping me make sense of what was shown to me. And I knew, all right, so everything I do is in service to the Course in Miracles. I need to make sure that I share this information. So I began to teach A Course in Miracles, and some of you guys are from that group, so thank you for being here, and thank you for being here. And I have found that through sharing the teachings of A Course in Miracles, it's helping me work through the layers. It's helping me really integrate at a deeper, more cellular level the truths that were shown to me. And I've been nudged. I have conversations with Jesus all the time, and it's just the most amazing thing. It's Buddha, it's Muhammad, it's everything. It's everything. But for me, I feel it as Jesus. Jeshua is his name, so that's really the way the conversations flow. So anyways, I've been feeling the push to share the truth, the essence of what this is all about, but I've been resisting. And part of the resistance is I knew I needed to work through. When I first began to get this, it completely stripped me of my ego for a little while. And then the who I am, the what I do, that began to reassemble as it does. And there was just too much, my spiritual ego was too involved. It would have wanted to take too much credit for this amazing stuff. So I had to sit with cleaning up my own, separating Linus wanted to take credit for this from what is pure. So you guys are the opportunity for me to test the waters. My ego gets involved. I know you guys are a loving group and you'll forgive me. And I'm just going to keep practicing until that's not there. Because the message is so beautiful and so wonderful and so powerful. And the amazing thing is that I'm not going to be telling you anything you don't already know. What I do know is that there's a simplicity with which the truth is going to be shared here today. And it's meant for you to have an experience of what you already know is your truth. So I'm going to ask you to be very mindful of your mind. Pay attention. Is your mind full of, I know this, what is she doing? Look at that person, I can't believe that person did this. Look at that, what's so-and-so wearing? Why there's only one guy in the room? Oh, there's filming. I can't believe I'm going to be on YouTube. Pay attention to the voices in your head. They do not want you to hear the resonance of the message that it is actually what's in your heart. And the reason I'm calling this a satsang is because all that is a meeting where it's not about the teacher and it's not about the student, it's not about the participant, it's about the message. So I just happen to be one delivering a message that you all already know. So the purpose of this is to activate the message so that we can feel the essence of the message. I do a lot of group coaching events, and that's not what this is. We're not here to coach. Nobody here really truly needs a coach when we're sitting in the space of just remembering truth. If your mind wants to figure out, how do I use this to get more money, to get a lover, to get a new job, a new career, you're missing the point. Because this is about being able to move past all of what you're doing in the world so that you can be what you really are, which is truly expansive. You are love. You are infinite, creative. And I've spent a couple of years studying other teachers because part of my human ego personality is to be perfect. And I had to go to work through that. And I spent a period where I was trying to be, I called it my monk, saint, zen phase, where I wanted to be like a monk. Should I wear brown? I don't look at it brown. All right, so a saint, should I wear white? I prefer black. All right, so should I be all zen and quiet? I'm loud, I'm vivacious, I'm happy. So I had to sort through, how am I gonna appear? And I kept hearing, just be you, just be you. You were made uniquely you, and you will say it in a way that will resonate to those who can hear it from you. The ones who need to hear from you from a monk are not coming to see you. The ones who need to hear from you from a saint, they're not coming to see you. So it's like, okay. So again, a lot of the push and pull, a lot of the resistance. And it got down to the place of just share the message, being completely authentically you. There's nothing about me that should be left out. So I'm funny. I cuss like a sailor. I am very proper. all those sides of me are going to show up. I'm vivacious and I'm very still. So all of that needs to be invited to the party. And when I was watching some of the ways other people lead satsangs, I realized that nobody out there does it the way that I do it. Not that I found. So it would be a total dishonor not to bring all of me into this. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a fun time sharing inside of the energy of truth. So what I want to do is take a quick second, and will you turn that off for us? Just a quick second. Come back on. So let me say, that I want you to find the place inside of you that is the still place in you. The place where you know you can always go to and you feel safe. You may have to kind of swim through the muck. You may have to kind of wade through the thoughts until you come to the place where you land in a still place in you, because it's there. The spiritual journey is about returning there. One of the things that's so amazing is that on the spiritual path, everybody goes off in whatever journey they go through, because that's how they're supposed to go. That's how we're guided to go. However, at some point when our awareness begins to expand, we are to leave those outer paths and enter the inner path. And one of the things that I feel is very important part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is to invite those of you who have a special teacher or a special power animal or a special rock or a special something out there that you go to, a card, something that outside of you that you're going to feed you, to consider giving that a rest, because it becomes an ego distraction. On this path, we are being guided to return to one place and one place only, and that's right to our hearts. And everything is helpful until it's not. And everything has two sides. In the world of duality, everything has two sides, the helpful side and the unhelpful side. And part of why I really am so committed to share this is I'm watching too many people that I know on spiritual journeys getting stuck. And I know for me, when I hear somebody tell me, wow, in such a short period of time, you've gotten to where you've gotten, and I'm like, everybody can do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But I've had 10 years of observing, and I've had 10 years of watching people with the best of intentions get so outer focused that they completely miss the pointers that are guides to come within. And what I mean by that is, I hope that today you make only one decision from this event, is that you will stop seeking, is that you will begin to acknowledge what you are. You will begin to spend some time daily. The best meditation you can do is say, I am that. I am the source of wholeness. I am the magnificence of the creative power just expressing through me. So what we're going to do today is look at the 6 simple things that I was asked to reveal that lets you know what truth is. And then the 6 opposite things that have us forget what truth is. Because when you begin to move through this journey and you're coming inside, the only thing that will help you, your lifeline, is truth. If you know truth, you won't get caught up in what I call spiritual cul-de-sacs, where you're out there trying to figure it out outside of you. You're trying to maneuver it, you're trying to pray it away, or meditate it away, or chant it away, or drum it away. And it's just not going to help you return inside. And I definitely want to say I have used every single one of those things to help me get to where I am. The journey is like a spiral, a constantly expanding, opening spiral. And on every step is something to help you along the way. But if you stay on that step, then you're giving that thing power, and you're kind of, you're not going to go backwards, but you're going to get stuck. And I've seen that too many times, not only in myself, but in others. So this is the 6 very simple ways to recognize if you're operating from truth or from illusion, so that you can begin to decide for yourself, where am I? Because when you begin to recognize that you are your own barometer, you are your own guidance, you are your own ability to decide, am I in truth or in illusion, the journey speeds up exponentially. And it speeds up because once you make the decision to be in truth, things will happen so much faster. Because you won't let yourself be distracted for too long. Because you'll know what your home base is. So let me share those 6 things. and then just share a little bit about them, and then open up the conversation. Again, this is not coaching. So this is not about how do I get something, because this is a journey of emptying ourselves. We're emptying our minds of what it is that we need to make us feel okay, and recognizing that we're already whole and complete. So we're not going out there to get, we're opening ourselves up so we can give. And what is it that we're going to be giving? Our authentic self. The uniqueness that exists in each and every one of us that we're here to deliver as a gift to humanity. Does that sound okay with you guys? Okay, so we're going to reveal the 6 simple things. I had to write them down. Believe it or not, I got them last night.
Wow. Timing's everything.
You know, it's just so amazing. I knew what I needed to do. And as I'm getting ready to go to sleep, going, okay, I know you're going to tell me what to say, because I'm trusting it's going to all happen. So I'm about to fall asleep, and I'm getting number 1, number 2, and I'm going, seriously? I'm about to fall asleep. I'll remember these in the morning. And then I began to remember, how many things have I said that before? How many times? So I got up, I got a little piece of paper, and I scratched them on the piece of paper. And this morning when I sat in my contemplation time, it just got revealed, and I've got a long list. But we're just going to go through these 6 simple truths, and then we will expand here how to apply that in our lives, how to live from that, because that's really where we're going. I don't know if you can see over here, okay? You know, you can. Since we've got this extra space here. We always have the perfect look, by the way. It's amazing how it happens that way always. So focus on the red side. So this is what's really true. And what is true with a capital T is the ultimate reality. This is the reality that God, Spirit, Source, whatever you want to call Creator, created. Everything is one. There is only one. There's not God and then what's outside of God. There's not the creative power and then what it didn't create outside of it. This is a very important concept that we've been talking about, that there's oneness. But most of us don't operate with the understanding that oneness is all inclusive and only one. One cannot be more than one. However, the paradox is that within one is everything. So we're looking to the place that holds everything, but in its holding itself, it's no thing. It truly is so expansive. And again, I know you've heard a lot of these terms. Hopefully today they'll be simplified and they'll make a little bit more sense as we go. This one thing is energy, pure energy, which means it is completely formless, 100% formless. Energy has no form. It is eternal because it's forever expanding. That which is one is always expanding. It's just a continuation. It's love. It's nothing more than love. This one thing is energy. It's eternal love. That's all that it is. It's number 5. It's all-knowing. It knows everything because it's the one thing that is everything. And in its knowledge of everything that it knows is possible. And it just is. It just is what is. It just be what it be, because it just is what is. And this is where I'm going to ask you to consider right now. See if you can feel that in you. See if you can allow yourself to move through the muck of the mind and see if you can connect with this as truth. Because until you can begin to connect with it in its simplicity, not with 10 books written about what energy is, or for an encyclopedia about what eternal means, or how many ways have we heard that oneness is. One is one. Energy is energy. Eternal is eternal. We need to get out of the conceptual mind that tells us, how that defines these things that cannot be defined. They're indefinable. They're indescribable. However, they're all available to us to experience. this experience that I had showed me that this is what I am. And in that instance, the mind got quiet. I did not need to understand. There was a knowing. I knew everything. Absolutely knew everything. And we get caught up in this journey about, well, we want to get to the place that we don't know. Yes, in human terms, we need to get to where we don't know so we can empty our mind. But once you tap into this, you have access to what knows everything. So you're told, you're guided, you're informed. You need to know something, it comes to you in that moment, because that's what you need to know in that moment. If you can't find the keys, it's because you're not supposed to go anywhere in that moment. If you don't know the name of the person, it's because you're not supposed to know it. But our mind has been trained to always be seeking, to find, to get something. So how do we know the opposites of these truths? The opposites of these truths are what we consider our relative reality, where we are appearing as relatives. So we need each other to have the experience of what's called the illusion. And the illusion is not that this is not real. That's not what I've been told to say. That's a conversation for some other teachers. But what is not real is that we're separate, because what's real is that we're one. So it's not that we're going to deny the experience that we're having, it's that we're going to amplify it and make it more authentic. So how do you know you're in the illusion? You're really believing that there's two or more of us here. So yes, I know I'm talking to different people, but what's talking to you is one with you. That's where we're connecting. It's in that space, in that love, that energy that allows us to feel something common. So when I connect with somebody that looks different, I'm committed to connecting to what's the same in us. Does that make sense? Have you felt that? Have you experienced that? Look at how many people that your mind tells you not to connect with, you can't help but connect with. Because something is connecting us. And the reason it connects us is because we're inside of it. We're not one. We're always one. Just having the illusion of separation. It appears that there's all these other forms there for the purpose of experiencing all the infinite possibilities that oneness can express as. But we get caught up in the two-ness. We get caught up in what's called duality. We get caught up in that if there's two of us, then one needs to get more than the other. One is right, one is wrong. And we move to a place of separation. This journey is bringing us back into unification, into oneness, so that we can begin to practice cooperation, communication, connection. That's what opens up when you begin to experience two-ness as one. You look for what makes you one, what brings you together. The other way you know you're caught up in your ego story is if you're focusing on matter. You know, Einstein told us that energy is matter that we see. And we've been trained since the moment we're born, we're being taught all of these things that are in the world have a name, they have a label, and they have a specific function. So we have made the things of matter more to us than being in connection with the energy that we truly are. So we're breaking out of seeing things in form and making them be so specific and rigid. This is my husband. This is my daughter. This is my boss. This is my car. This is my this. And have it be so specific that when it doesn't do what you have decided it should do, you get upset. Does that make sense? Is this resonating? If truth is eternal, it means it's infinite, it goes on forever, then what is not true is temporal. It's temporary. This is life. This is birth and death. And most of us live inside of the birth and death timeline and miss out on the eternalness of who we are. Because we're so focused on the here and now that we have forgotten that we're jumping in here and now all the time. The energy that we are is playing, being human, coming in, came in as Lina this time, come in next time as something else, maybe come as a dog or a puppy or a butterfly or a tree or whatever. Just constantly entering into the space of matter whenever it feels like it, because it can. And I know sometimes these concepts are really hard for the mind to grasp. But if you begin to connect with a part of you that knows that this is true, you will begin to expand from the limited perception that we have of who we are. The opposite of love is fear. And actually it's not so much an opposite as it is when we are denying what we are, we experience fear. Kind of a cool little signal that we got. Every time you're in fear, it's just a signal. You're not in love. Oh, I'm in revenge. You're not in love. I'm in anger. You're not in love. I'm in judgment. You're not in love. A cool built-in signal. Every time you're experiencing what you're not, it's because you're denying what you are. Every time you experience what you're not, it's just a denial of what you are. How simple is the truth? How simple is that? If you are operating in the world of illusion, you're operating through perception. What are you perceiving? What are you seeing out there? It's a perception. Source knows, it does not perceive, it just conceives. It conceives all that can happen, and we perceive an aspect of all that can happen. So for example, I'm over here looking at you. I have a vantage point that she doesn't have of you because she can't see straight into you. She can only see at your side. So we're recognizing that we have limited perceptions. And in our limited perceptions, we are not accessing all of it. We have become temporarily focused on the one thing in that moment that matters to us. The other thing is that it's about, in the illusion, it's all about doing, proving. It's an action-oriented thing, where when you're connected with your true essence, it's about being. So when you think about little babies, they just be babies. They just be and expect to be taken care of, because they're connected to their source. They know all that they need to know in that moment. I'm hungry, you will feed me. I'm cold, you will cover me up. They come in, the most trusting beings are the ones who come in the most helpless. Isn't that interesting? That those who trust the most are the most hopeless, because they are not here to defend themselves. They are the new energies that have entered into the game. And what's happening is a lot of these old energies that were rigid about how things were separate, they're falling off. Those of you who might listen to a teacher called Abraham says they croak. They just kick the bucket. They kick the bucket and they return. Why? Because it's fun, because they can. So the invitation is to consider the part in you that this makes sense to. And every single time you're experiencing this separation, ask yourself, why? Why am I feeling separate? Why am I so focused on the job? If you're thinking about a job or a lover or something else, there's two of you. You and that. And when you're focusing on you and that, you don't remember that you are the energy that can work with that can connect with that. So you begin to think, oh, what matters most to me? And when you're focused on what matters most to me, it's always going to be a selfish thing. It's not going to be about connection. It's going to be about what can I get? And in that space, we get completely lost in the illusion of our separation and not connecting with the essence that we are. So I'm going to stop here and see if anybody has any comments or questions about this while we continue to just let this percolate. But it's really important that if you have any doubts about this, consider these questions. Is this doubt having me feel separate from Lina? Is this doubt making this information something other than what I am? Because if you begin to question your thoughts, doubt is the thing that keeps you from certainty. Truth is simple and it's very certain. This is just waiting for us to recognize it. It's not concerned with how long it takes us because it's eternal. If it takes us a whole bunch of lifetimes or 10 years or 20 years or 5 years, it doesn't care because it knows what it is. It just be what it is. is just being love, unconditional love, waiting for us. So let's take a second. Does this make sense? How does this make sense for you?
How does this make sense? I'm bought into this being the truth. I think the part that I need to be reminded of is that there's sort of different planes of reality, and I think that the one on the left is the deepest plane of reality. It's like the ultimate truth, but we kind of experience reality on different levels, and we sort of, as we're walking through our day, we sometimes have to sort of interact in the duality of, like, I'm having a job interview with you, and I can't just say, oh, but we're one. I have to kind of play that role. And so the more you play that role, because we're in this sort of physical space where other people are sort of expecting that role to be played, it's easy to get caught up in it as if it's the only reality, as if this plane of existence is the only plane of existence, and the deep truth that we really are one, and this job doesn't really define me, or this relationship doesn't define me, isn't the truth. It just feels like it because I'm living in this space for a while. So for me, I think the challenge is, taking off my earth suit, mentality, and saying, okay, well, that interview didn't go as I wanted, or that day didn't go as I wanted, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's not, we're all still one, and it was all supposed to happen that way. So I feel the truth on the left is the real truth, and it just is a matter of going back there.
Yeah, so the going back there is the best way to describe it, because what we're doing is we are returning to the truth of who we are. And to catch ourselves in the moment where we are caught up in the duality, that is the perfect time to shift our thoughts, because the vibration of love is the highest vibration possible. And the reason it's the highest is because it's inclusive. The vibrations of fear are the lowest, densest vibration. And the reason they're denser is because they are exclusive. So the more something becomes a form, then the less it can be anything else. So as we become more denser in our belief system, then we become more exclusive of other ways of looking at things. So yes, so we're returning back. We're what I like to say is shift and lift. We're shifting out of the density of the thought patterns that hold us down, limit us in these bodies, and making us feel like that's all that matters, the temporary stuff of life, and lifting to be able to see the big picture. Yes.
So how do you get out of that when you're in the illusion side? I mean, I'm maybe asking, because I'm new for this, but how do you shift your mind out of that? I guess the first recognition would be that you know that you're in that, right?
So it's 4 simple steps.
Okay.
So the first one is the awareness, the recognition. Bingo, you got it right there. Most of us weren't aware that we could shift our thoughts until we began to learn about shifting our thoughts. I had no clue that I could change my thinking. My thinking I thought was me, and I was consumed with what I thought that was it. That was the truth. So the first thing is the awareness. When you become aware of the thought that you're having, the next thing to do is to begin the process of acceptance. In oneness, it's all about acceptance. We need to begin to practice this with ourselves. So go to the place of love. I'm accepting that right now I'm in fear. I'm accepting that right now I'm scared if I'm going to make enough money to pay my bills. I'm accepting that that's where I am right now. It is what I'm experiencing in this moment. Most of us want to run away from that. We want to go to the next thing that's going to help stop that. We get into the doing. Let me do something. Let me create a new, let me fix it. So you become aware and then you accept it. It is what is right now. When we can begin to hold everything in oneness, now we can begin to see what's happening here. What's happening? And what's happening is very simple. The opportunity is to recognize I, as a magnificent source of everything, wanted to experience getting fired from my job. Because if that's what I'm experiencing, that's what be happening. So I just experienced getting fired from my job. What comes up for me? what's going to come up is all of the beliefs that you got programmed with about how you were supposed to do your life so that you could be okay. And now the doing that you did has gotten you to where it's not okay. So this begins to bring up all of the information that had you condensed into believing that you are a finite aspect of that which is infinite. Does that make sense?
It does.
So think about it this way. Every single one of us, before we're born, from before conception, we are the infinite energy. That's what we are. If you don't really give yourself permission to know that you are in that space of oneness, in that God essence, in that source essence, in that creator energy before you come in, you will not remember that you chose to have this human experience because you can. See, that which is energy can be anything it wants to be. It can express itself in infinite ways. It's eternal, so it's infinite possibilities. And love says, I want to try it. Why not? It's open, it's unconditional. Let's do it all. Let's do everything. The all-knowing says, I know I'm safe, so I'm going to go in there, enter into this dream, and I'm going to pop out when I'm done. I'll kick the bucket. You know, I'll croak. I'll die. I'll transition. I'll pass away. Whatever all those words are. And I'm just the eternal energy that keeps circulating. That's when life really begins to be fun and easy. You're not taking things so personal. So one, you become aware, accept what is, and then go to the recognition you created it. Because once you recognize that you created it, that's when you get the power to shift. So I created getting fired. Why did I create getting fired? And of course I'm making that up, because I don't know that that's what you've experienced. Why did I create being fired? Now this is where it gets fun. Why did I create being dumped? Why did I create getting in an accident? Why did I create getting brain tumor? I've got a friend who just went through surgery for a brain tumor. Why did I create that? When you get curious, that's why curiosity brought you here. That's our childlike sense of wonder. Ooh, I'm curious about this. When you get curious, why did I experience getting fired? The love that you are wants to experience giving of itself. I experienced getting fired so that this person who fired me can experience getting my love. Can experience me not going into two-ness. Yes. Can experience me not going into two-ness and seeing them as separate, seeing them as taking something from me. Because if I am all that isness, if I am already all whole and complete, what can they take from me? Now, in our human form, we have to understand that since the beginning we've been picking up beliefs that tell us who we are, what we have to do, and what we have to become for someday we get to be happy. So we're operating with years and years, decades of programming that are consistently contrary to what we are. Little children begin to be taught what they should believe about religion. Isn't it interesting how many religions we have, but we all are of the same one energy? How did that happen? Isn't it interesting how many ways of governing there are, but we're all the same one energy? So when you begin to get playful with this, and this is where the mastery of spirituality comes in. If you can't laugh at what's happening, the joke's on you. You'll be the one suffering. This is a very uncomfortable place for people who feel, well, wait a second, I've worked so hard for my life. I've got this stuff. Look at what I've accumulated. Look at what I've accomplished. I, the little I that gets all caught up in I, separate from you, is all about what am I getting. So when I get fired, I'm not getting anything from them. Now I got to show up and give something to somebody else so that they'll want to hire me. This eternalness expanding is about giving. What we are is here to give, to express. In human form, when we condense ourselves, it's about what am I getting? I need to get my piece of the pie, because there's so many pieces out there, I want to get one. So step 3 is shift and lift. Shift. You have the power to shift between believing that what is happening can affect you, or what is happening can inform you about how you're showing up. If you're in fear, you went into your humanness, If you're in love, you're experiencing from your divineness, from your eternalness. Very scary to do in the beginning. God knows I've had plenty of years of practicing being scared shitless because I was losing something that had become so important to me because I got completely distracted and all the shiny things out there were calling me. I mean, they're so fun and beautiful. And I was told that the more I accumulated, then the better I was, the more successful I was. So I had to begin to get comfortable. Well, if I'm this, why am I suffering because something went away? Then if I'm suffering, it's because I'm not knowing that I am the source of the experience. And the fourth step, celebrate that you figured it out. Okay. Damn, I'm powerful. Wow, I just created that suffering. I just created that firing. I just created this experience. I just created the shift. I just created the awareness. We got to come back to knowing that inside of us are two parts. This is so, so important. Two sides to us. There's a conditioned humanness, that voice of the ego, that's all about what can I get from the outer world, because there's two of us and I better get more than they do. Otherwise I'm going to take it all and I'm going to be left with nothing. And then there's the voice of our essence. There's the voice of love. There's the voice that so many times we have experienced. It's gentle. It's compassionate. It's loving. It doesn't need to defend anything. It just knows what it be. So begin to own that that is the part that is making the observance of what's happening. Here, we become aware of finite things. Here, we're the pure awareness, present to what's happening. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
How's this sitting with you guys?
I can share. I can share where I can see myself and I can see the successes and the struggles as well. So, can I share some personal kind of things that have happened?
Without going into a big story,
Right.
so that we don't get too much into this.
Right. Okay. So, in the whole realm of being attached to matter, so there was the foreclosure of the house. Where the house went. Okay, and then so a lot of the stuff went, and then I had so getting unattached to some of that, and then there was the more recently, I've been really going through some of this stuff and saying, okay, I'm going to go to Alaska, taking on this new job and wherever else, and so I'm giving up. There's grandchildren here, so children and families is really important. And I got to see where there was an attachment that I had to that, but also I had an attachment to my farm in Virginia where I was raised. And my sister sent me a message and said, are you coming home before you go? And I said, no, I won't have time. And I was like, what did I just say? So I can see where that's there, and then I can see where the places where I'm still struggling.
So the part of you that said, I don't have time, is the part that lives in the eternalness.
Right.
That if I don't visit the farm in this lifetime, I'll visit in the next one.
It's okay.
Or there's always, maybe in 10 years or
Right.
later on.
Whatever.
You're untethered
Yes.
when you live in the eternalness, because there is no time in eternal. In the temporal, we're living. How much can I do today? How much can I fit in this hour? How much can I get it done in this day, in this year, in this lifetime?
Because you're limited.
Because you're limited. This is all about temporary. If you're informed, if you're operating as matter, you're operating informed, and by the sheer body form that we get, we are limited, confined, and defined by this. When what we really are is an energy that extends beyond this, and we just happen to be appearing inside of that energy, having the experiences that we're having. So how beautiful that you have been able to see the two sides.
Yes.
Are you taking credit for your ability to shift?
Asian.
Okay. So if you want to go to Mach speed, begin to acknowledge, wow, that's what I wanted to experience. I experienced attachment. Interesting. Wow. Of all the infinite possibilities in all-knowing, I experienced foreclosure. How cool is that? Because then that allows you to be present for somebody who has experienced it through suffering, attached, not knowing that they can shift. See, we're waking up. If you're here, it's because There's something inside of you that is calling you to become the presence of this in your circle of influence. And as you become the presence of this in your circle of influence, all hell is going to break loose for them as it's been breaking loose for you. It just has to happen this way. There is I like to think it as a divine earthquake taking place, where everything that we thought about who we are is being cracked open, is being shattered. We are losing ground. We're losing what we thought held us firm so that we can enter into that which is infinite, where we are held firm by the truth that what we are is the energy that is just having this human experience. And it's not to deny the human experience, it's that we can begin to experience it as the creative, powerful explorers that we are. We decided, when you realize that you decide, I decided to experience myself as separate, as other than one. That's a really uncomfortable place for most of us to go, because we want to say, but if I would have chosen that, I would have been born skinny, tall, blonde. I would have had a silver spoon in my mouth. I would have lived by the river or by the water, or I would have been I would have been a princess. Yes, that's a ticket. I'd have been a princess. But here I am, living in an apartment and not enough money, whatever your story is. I'm too overweight. Because we're so caught up in that this is real, we have forgotten what really matters. The eternalness of who we are is choosing all kinds of different lifetimes, and you're blonde this one, but you may be brunette the next one. You're white this one, you may be black the next one. You're male, you may be female. There is an energy that is moving, constantly expanding and expressing itself. And we're waking up to the acknowledgement that everything that appears different is because it can. Because it can. It can be whatever it wants to be. Does that, tell me, where are you? Does that scare you? Are you at a place where that's scary, or does that feel more soothing? Because we go through those two places. That's very scary and confronting at one time, and then it's very soothing once you know where home base is. How do you guys feel? How does this feel? Is it scary, or is it comforting?
I wouldn't use either one of those words.
Okay. So, how would you describe it?
The word that comes to mind is amazing.
Okay.
And also a release of fear about the future. You know, I'm 63. I've only got who knows? You know,
Temporal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X number of years, and what do I want to do, and so it's really amazing, I think, just to try and keep that in your mind as much as possible. I think especially when you're going through your day and you are very temporal and everything is very matter, and you are dealing with 2 and 5 and 10, to go back to this place, it's so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And the way you go back to this place and experience the discomfort from a place of compassion is through practicing forgiveness. And this is the forgiveness that the Course in Miracles talks about. And one of the reasons I love the Course in Miracles explanation of forgiveness is because of how powerful it is. And this is my words for forgiveness according to the Course in Miracles. It's a realization that we forgot what we are. Forgiveness is remembering what we are.
That we're loved.
That we forgot. When we're here, we forgot. Here, we remember. So the forgiveness is, they say the word forgiving the love that you are. When we forget what we are, we go into lockdown mode. We put up the walls of separation, and now I need to defend myself from all the people who can take something from me, because if there's only, so much, in the world of temporal, the world of matter, we're counting what is there. We're counting the money, we're counting the moments, we're counting how many lakes are there, how many houses are on the lake, if there's only so many houses, if they get sold out, I don't have one. we're counting, we become bean counters. We're focusing on all the little things and we're missing the big picture. You know, the beautiful example that I had not too long ago is I had the privilege of dating a fabulous man who could afford to buy a house on the lake. So we got a house on the lake. And my name was on the deed, but when we got divorced, my name came off the deed. So I experienced the suffering, oh, that really mattered a lot to me. I had a lake house. Now I don't have a lake house. And as I sat with this, because I practice what I teach, awareness. Okay, I'm aware that I'm feeling sadness. I'm aware that I'm feeling resentment. I'm aware that I'm feeling like I just lost something important. All right, so let me accept that this is, I can feel any of those things. How cool is that I can feel? How amazing it is that because I have a body, I can feel. I can feel all of the infinite expressions of this. Gratitude is so important. Wow, I can feel sadness. I can feel anger. Amazing. I can feel the energies getting lighter or denser. I can feel the range of what's happening inside of me. Now I know in denseness, it doesn't feel good. Dense is tight, tense, constricted, uneasy. It's not fun. Stress, depression. I want to feel lighter, so I need to shift what I'm thinking right now if I want to lift myself out of the density. So, what am I? I'm one. I'm all this whole planet. I don't want to go to the whole universe, but I focus on this whole planet. Then I thought, well, I'm not going to go all over the planet to a lake. I'm this whole country. Well, I'm not going to go all over the country to, go to a lake every weekend. I'm this whole state. And I'm not going to drive that far. I'm this whole lake, the lake where we happen to have the house at. I am one with that whole lake. So now, what do I want to experience? I want to experience myself free. I want to be free to enjoy this lake. So when my name wasn't attached to one piece of property, I became untethered to enjoy the whole lake. Now all of a sudden, I was like, wow. I was so focused on this one piece. Now, I can call up a friend who lives down there. Can I come to your lake house this weekend? Or I can rent a house somewhere else. Or I'm free and untethered. I don't have to go back to the farm because that's what I had. I am free now to experience whatever I want. When we become so focused, narrow focused on this is the one thing that's going to make me happy, when it begins to move in this divine earthquake that we're undergoing, where we're experiencing, when it begins to move, you're going to feel like you've lost ground. Who am I without my lake house? Who am I without my title? Who am I without my job? Who am I without my lover? Who am I without my child? Who am I without? Notice how that's what we mostly experience when something moves. Who am I without that? Because we've been conditioned that I am something with that. We're out there to get and accumulate so I can show my net worth. The houses that I have. I lived in East Cobb for a long time because I wanted to show to the world. I lived in the best, suburban part of Georgia, and I raised my children in the best schools, and I went out and I got the house, and I got the car, and I got everything that I needed to get. And then life said, oh, you're asking for so little. You want so little, you just want that? We're going to shake it out from under your girlfriend. We're going to take this, we're going to take that, because we want you to open up your arms. We want you to be untethered from this and open up to receive. See, that's the cool thing. As you were saying, there are levels of knowingness that will be revealed to us. It's a stair-step effect. And when you ground yourself at one level, you begin to see that some things get more comfortable. When you go to the next level, more things get comfortable. This journey is having us all get out of our limited idea of what we deserve so that we can begin to recognize that what we are is truly infinite, deserving of everything. And it's not that you're going to all of a sudden, instead of asking for the $40,000 a year job, that $1 million a year job is going to land on your lap. It's not that that's what's going to happen. It could. But what happens is that now you're not focused on the 40,000. You're not focused on just that. Now you're open to other possibilities. Maybe you end up making 20, but you know that what you are is eternal, and what will come to you can come from all kinds of different ways. When we expand, we're allowing for more to show up. It's a paradox. The less you hold on to, the more you can receive. The less focused you are on matter, the more you're expanding to really truly what ultimately matters more than anything, which is for you to experience love. Does that make sense? Is it still amazing? So what stops us from living here? All of the beliefs that we hold about who we think we are as a separate being. And it's not that we're going to lose our individuality. It's not that we're going to lose who we are. We're not all going to merge into one, because we're already in one. We're just not going to live from the separation. We're going to begin to practice connection, to help each other, to be kinder. Is that exciting? So share any thoughts, anything that you're experiencing. I learned from you too.
This is good for me because it's kind of like this reminder. You know it. Like you said, this is not news. This is it's the soul knows it. But I also see where I'm still in the right hand column.
So would you like to have an experience about why you still hold on to that?
Hold on to it. I don't know if I hold on. It's there. I wouldn't say I'm holding on. I'm ready to let it go. But okay, all right.
See, this is beautiful. We are our own teachers. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, you're right. You just got his little pinky finger holding onto that rope.
Exactly. And that's part of when we get all spiritual. We really truly believe that we're not holding on to anything. As I'm chanting and I'm going to go see I'm going to go to the drumming circle and I'm going to go see the energy healer and it's going to be all wiped away now. And I start tomorrow and then boom, I'm back in my reality, virtual reality. So ask yourself, and you don't have to say this, but I'm going to invite everybody to do the same thing. Ask yourself, why do I hold on to believing I'm a separate being? And allow yourself to get an answer. There's a payoff to holding on to separation. When you get really clear about why and where you are on the stairway to heaven, it's going to be a different answer. Let's take a second. Why do I hold on to not owning my eternalness, my infiniteness?
Well, it is. It's one of the big things that for myself is and it's the Marianne Williamson quote about we're afraid to live in that greatness. There's a fear of living in that greatness.
So identify what scares you about living in that greatness. You intellectually know you are that greatness, but what scares you? That's where the work is.
Oh, yeah, I know that one too. It's responsibility.
Okay.
Because living over there, and it's easy to be like irresponsible. Because if I'm this big being, I don't know, pay the health payment this month, or I don't like this job, I'll just quit. Because I'm this big expansive being. Because responsibility is a big thing in my mental makeup.
So our ego tells us all of those things, and it's a process of sorting out the rooting. Not to get you to want to quit the job and be this big being, but to get you to accept that you chose to be this limited being in this job.
I didn't quit the job.
Whatever it is. Whatever.
I'm testing it,
We're testing it. So it's the acceptance. See, we're trying to expand to be this thing. We don't need to expand to be that. We be that already. That is what we are. This is an acceptance of what we are. so that we can have the experience in the finiteness of time to enjoy what's happening because it's what we created. So instead of being afraid of responsibility, just give yourself the opportunity to go, you know what? I chose to feel fear about responsibility. How does that serve me? So see if you can identify what are the few things, a few
Not just specifically to be coaching.
No, it's not. It really isn't coaching. We're not going to get into the story of it, but it's right there. It's present for you, and it's going to be a gift to everybody.
Well, it's kind of, it's following the rules that we've been handed down since we were, you know, yeah.
So look at it this way, and I'm going to invite everybody to, in your own way, do the same thing. Connect with the part of you that's saying, wow, as eternalness that I am, I chose to have the experience of following the rules. Go to the acceptance that that is what you are experiencing. In the resistance of what we're experiencing, guess what we're doing to it? When I'm resisting this, pushing it away, I'm attached to it. I can't let it go.
That's the thing.
In the acceptance of it, wow, I wanted to experience following the rules. Now there's an opening. Go into your knowledge bank. Are some rules good? Do they help me? And you begin to sort through them. Wow, some rules are really beneficial. How interesting that we have some beneficial rules. But some, they're too limiting now. So if I stay inside of these limiting rules, it must be because I want to experience feeling limited. Try that on. With your specific situation, everybody, with your specific situation, recognize that if I'm staying somewhere that I want to leave, it's because I want to experience being there. And tell me, do you feel a softening? Is that thing not so terrible now? Now, in the acceptance of it, there's a welcoming it. Now you're bringing it in. Now, instead of pushing it away, you're embracing it. What we're doing is we're making that thing we don't like one with us. I don't like that job. Ooh, I've got a job that I don't like. How cool is that? Can you feel the difference in that? Say something like that in your own mind if you want to. I don't like that job. I don't like that lover. I don't like that person. I don't like that traffic. Ooh, I love this traffic that I don't like. I love this husband that I don't like. I love this job that I don't like. How cool is that? I've got it. It's mine. Here I am. What are you experiencing?
Thank you. Because it's like this is, I can totally relate in my own language to others. You know, it's like when you love the thing about yourself or the other person that gives you charge, when you love that, that opens up the space for change.
Yes. And in that space, the all-knowingness, you have access to all-knowing. When we are in resistance, we're operating out of our perception, out of the programming that we've received. And your programming is not the same as her programming, it's not the same. Because we're all experiencing life from a different vantage point. And we all have a piece of the puzzle. And because we're all operating from a piece of the puzzle, we're not experiencing peace. Because we're broken up into pieces. So to be able to gain inner peace is to accept the piece of the puzzle that you're in right now. When you embrace it, when you bring it into oneness, it's not otherness anymore. It won't matter so much what it's doing. Now, you bringing love to it. I want a different job. I don't like this one. Wow, I'm so glad I drew to me a job that I don't like. What is this showing me? I want something else. Okay, in infinite knowing, what else would I like to have? Now life can talk to you. God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, can inform you. What's next? What do I want to experience now? In resistance, I cannot hear inspiration because I'm busy in perspiration trying to push it away. But when I embrace it, I'm practicing truth. I'm one with it. Energetically, we're not separate, right? If we're inside of it, it's one with me. So stop pushing what is already one with me. In the eternalness. We go to, hey, if I don't get out of this today or tomorrow, it's okay. Now there's not an urgency to get out. Because when you're in an urgency to get out, you go into the temporal. Now you're stuck in trying to fight something in time. Now that thing gets a lot of power. Bring some love to it. Love yourself enough for having chosen that experience. Because it's showing you, am I coming from love or am I coming from fear? If I don't fear it anymore, now I can get creativity flows when there's an opening. Creativity stops when in my perception I know it all.
So the word I keep getting in my mind is trust.
Yes.
That means that I'm not trusting the process or trusting myself to.
You know, this journey is the development of trust. Again, it's one of the most amazing things that is so simplified in the Course in Miracles. We are on a journey of developing trust. When we were little, when we started off this journey, we all came in to have a human experience because we trusted it was going to be a fun journey. We trusted. We knew from before conception, we're going to come in, and no matter what happens, we're going to go out, it's going to be fine. I'm going to get on the roller coaster ride, and at the end, I'm going to take the seatbelt off, and I'm going to get off, and then I'll go, wasn't that fun? I'm going to come back again. When we come in, we totally forget that this was a choice. Because we enter into the world of two-ness. I'm seeing, come out of the mother's womb, sometimes in the womb you got a roommate, you got a womb-mate, and now there's two of you in there, but you come out and you clearly begin to see more than one. And the parents begin to give us the information that they think matters most to us, to tell us who we should be, and then we go on to live our lives that way. So we come in trusting that we're one with Source. Then we come in and we begin to trust those parents out there, those caretakers, to give us what we need. But in the process of beginning to see them as separate from us, what we most want to connect with is what we are. What is it that we most want from our parents when we're little? Number 4, love. So, because we are inherently operating as separate, and we know that we're love, we're bringers of love. We come in, look at every little baby, you want to hold them. Why do people want to hold babies? Because they're bringers of love. We want to get a hold of that love, that deliciousness that comes in, that is fresh. And these little babies know their love. Then all of a sudden they begin to feel the not love of the parents. The fear that the parents are in is having them want to take that from that baby. We want that baby to make us feel good about ourselves. If the baby is not behaving, we now have lost our ability to feel good about ourselves. If that baby is not performing in school, now we've lost the ability to go, I'm a good parent. Now I can't love myself because that child didn't do what they were supposed to do. So, we begin to trust them. And in the trusting them to give us what we are, we stop trusting us. When we stop trusting us, we go into fear mode. When we're in fear mode, we begin to figure out how we're going to navigate the world. Oh, I heard that to be successful, I got to get a job, I got to go to corporate America, I got to go to 12 years of school, I got to go to college, then I'll be happy. Oh yeah, that's the ticket. I'm off on a 40-year journey to try and figure out. All the while trusting that the job will make me happy, the spouse will make me happy, the house will make me happy, the money will make me happy. Yeah, that's what's going to make me happy. That's what's going to make me feel what I have forgotten is already inside of me. The process of entering our human experience is the process of going to look for love in all the outside places. So it is a development of trust. We're trusting not only that we're already this, so we're trusting ourselves, coming back in. But we need to learn to trust that everybody is reflecting to us who we are. If I don't trust them, it's because I don't trust me. And then we're learning to put our value on what really matters. Am I trusting the temporary house? This one that's going to go away? Or am I trusting that I'm eternal and I'm already in my home? I'm inside of Source. I'm in this universe. I'm home already. can trust what created me. So we're developing trust little by little. Every single time we lose something, and if you're in this group, clearly something's been taken from you. Are you still here? Are you still breathing? Are you still alive? Yes, you are. How many times are you giving yourself credit for the fact that you've made it through the divorces, the bankruptcies, the deaths, the illnesses, the firings, the jobs that you didn't enjoy? Can you raise your hand and let me know if you have thanked yourself, acknowledged yourself for what you have done? Most of us don't do that until we really truly are taught to do that.
A little bit lately.
Exactly. We learn to do that later. But when we first get fired, when we first get let go of a relationship, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What should I have done to make them stay? What should I have done? Because I'm not enough in my being. I'm not okay. Because if I was okay, they would not have left me. They would not have fired me. That's where we go to. Because our mind is conditioned to be this perfect person so that one day you get to be happy. And life is saying, we're going to take away all those things so you realize that happiness is what you are. When are you going to bring it to the party? When are you going to bring your happy self to whatever's happening? Bring your happy self to the divorce. I've done that a couple of times. Bring your happy self to the job you don't like. I've done that sometimes. Bring your happy self to the big changes in your life. If you bring your happy self, your capital S self will be present to sort through what's happening. Now you're back here. Now you're the awareness that there is an experience about to be had. Am I going to go into it from this vantage point, this perspective? Or am I going to enter it from that perspective? Either way, it doesn't alter that you're eternal, it doesn't alter your energy, it just alters the experience that you're having. Let's take a second and just feel that. Can you feel in the space, feel that. Feel that you're safe right now. Just tap into that which allows you to feel safe. That's your truth. Tap into that which has managed to survive and thrive through lots of changes. That's your truth. Feel that part of you that's joyful, curious, and full of wonder. And just say, wow, I chose this ride. Damn, I'm powerful. Can you feel it inside of you, even if it's just a sliver? Even if it's just a sliver, you're accessing truth, your truth, our truth. The spiritual journey is inviting us to take our truth with us into the human experience. Take your truth with you when you sit in traffic. Take the truth of you when you're dealing with a challenging customer, or sibling, or parent, or teenager. That's what being awake is. Experiencing what is happening here, because I chose to be here, as the awareness that is present. We are that aware presence. But we have gotten so caught up in the finiteness that we have forgotten to come back and look at it from our infiniteness. How can this go? What are the many ways that this thing can go? How do I want to enjoy it?
the word I keep getting is, what are my opportunities now?
What are my opportunities now? And our opportunities are always available because we're here. We're here. So any thoughts? What's coming up for you?
When I closed my eyes, first I saw blue sky and white clouds and mountains, and then a bird the size of a hawk or an eagle, just soaring through the air, just freedom and love and energy. That's how it can feel.
Exactly. You know, in this journey, like I said, all those stepping stones have beautiful things that are guiding us, that are helping us get back home to truth. And nature is one of the most powerful ways, because most of us have an acceptance of nature's magnificence. And when you can, whether it's a power animal or whatever it is, and you begin to get messages that that eagle is a representation of who you are. In oneness, that eagle is just showing you an aspect of who you are that you have forgotten you had because you saw it as separate. Oh, the eagle can soar, but not me. Because in separation, one is higher than the other. In oneness, we're equal. So that ego is just a way that you in your mind can recognize your ability to soar above the minutia of day-to-day life. Soar above the details, to embrace the whole thing. We get so caught up that I'm here to take care of my family, but I'm here to take care of the whole planet. The planet is my family. How can I expand? We need to soar beyond what we think is what defines us. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Actually, in nature, I heard this taught that the eagle actually uses adverse winds to soar on. That's where they get their power, and that's where they have their biggest launch. Their propulsion.
It's amazing, but nature is so powerful.
But those are the winds. Those winds of adversity are the ones that we can choose to rise above and to utilize as our source of fuel.
Or when things are going good, we're not looking to change anything. I don't know about you, but when things were good, I wasn't changing a thing. So when things are pretty good, there's no resistance. We're in acceptance of what is. We're enjoying what is. Oh, this is where I am. This is where I live. This is where I'm doing. But when it begins to change and we begin to resist, we're beginning to draw upon the energies that need to be released. That's why resistance is an invitation to releasing. So it's powerful stuff.
When you were doing that earlier, the two sides, and how the heavier energies, and I thought of clouds. I'm on one side of the cloud, and the cloud doesn't go, oh, I think I should be a box, or I should be, this is the shape I'm supposed to be. It kind of takes whatever shape, and clouds are magnificent. And some of them are cumulus, and some of them are dark and gray, and some of them, they just float. And they just are fully a cloud, whereas this other is you're hanging on, I remember the movie The Jerk where Steve Martin lost everything, and he was like, I don't need any of this except for this lamp, and by the time and I need that stool, and it got to where he couldn't even leave the house because he was hanging on to too many things.
His hands were so full.
His hands were so full.
Yes, exactly.
And then it weighs you down, and it's no wonder you sink and you get very low because you're weighted down by too much, as opposed to being able to let go of the lamp or the chair and the job or relationships or whatever's really pulling you down. I think I too have gone through it a lot in the last few months, and it's just being able to let it go.
Yeah.
And just go, okay.
Because whatever we're trying to hold on to is holding us down.
It's holding us down.
However, it's because we've given it permission to hold us down by the fact that we're holding it.
Right. Right. And
been with you in classes where you talk about rejection or pushing something away, and how you're still touching it. And whereas if you just kind of turn and, okay, you can let it go. And so one is just kind of, one action is acting out of love, and okay, I'm going to trust that this is the direction I'm supposed to go, where the other one is a fear. I'm afraid to let go of this because at least I know what it is, you know?
Yes, and every time we're holding on to something, what we're saying is, I don't deserve more. That's what we're doing. When we're holding on to this, we're saying no to more. When I'm holding on to the one house, I'm saying no to all the other infinite houses that I could go to on the lake, that lake, any lake, wherever I want to go. But I was so attached to that one that I experienced suffering in the having not just my name taken off of a piece of paper. I mean, seriously, how much suffering? I still go there, I still get to enjoy it. But how much suffering because somebody deleted your name off of a piece of paper? Boy, I made that matter so much. Amazing. Somebody else? Yes.
Oh, I wanted to add that maybe this goes without saying, but that it feels like the suffering is part of the process to me, like not necessarily necessary, but like you're saying, okay, bring your happy self to this divorce and bring your happy self to this firing, but I feel like you need to feel that resistance first before you're like, oh, I'm feeling resistance. Now I can maybe reframe it. I mean, I think people get more resilient, and you can go through that process faster, and then you get like something that maybe you get a little harder, and then you get that resistance, and then you like learn how to process that faster. But I think part of one of the challenges is feeling like you're not supposed to, if you show up in your truth of reality, you're never going to be unhappy. You're never going to be, have confrontations with people or whatever. You should just be, go to your truth and know that you're one with everything, and everything. I'm not going to need to feel negative emotions because all those good ones are just waiting for me, and they're all, But I think it's necessary. It feels like it's necessary, at least. Not necessarily dwell in it, but I mean, it feels like you need to kind of get poked by something in order to say, okay, I need to be unpoked.
So let's pivot that a little bit. What would
Okay.
happen for you if it was totally unnecessary for you to keep suffering or experiencing adversity? Just feel into the answer before you answer it.
So what would it feel like if it didn't feel necessary? Well, I'm still playing with the idea that it's necessary in the context of.
So you're in your head right now analyzing it. So
Okay.
feel in your body. What would it be like if it was unnecessary to suffer? What would that feel like? And I'm going to invite everybody here.
Feel like it was. I think it would be lovely.
So hold that thought.
Okay.
So through the many years, the eons, that humanity has been entering into an idea of itself, we have been condensing our energy. The eternal energy that we are has been condensed, repressed, suppressed. So it is suffering to explode out. It is suffering because we're shattering the limitation. We're busting through our ideas. This journey is very scary because we literally have to let go of the idea of who we think we are. Because who we think we are is very limited. I am this woman and I'm this age and I am this financial status and I'm this. Very confining, because if I'm all that, I can't be anything else. Think about that for a second. If I am what I believe about myself, I cannot be something outside of that. If I am a cook, I cannot be the carpenter. If I am the carpenter, I cannot be the cook. In my mind, that's what I've defined myself as. So through the years, through the eons that we have been experiencing the process of time, we are condensing ourselves to a very limited idea of who we are. The suffering is the breaking out, the seeing that I am okay when I move beyond that. That suffering is being experienced by the ego who was holding on to things. Our essence is not holding on to anything. So in this journey, it's really popular to say that the suffering is good, it's showing me something. And it really is as an indicator. But too many spiritual people, I know myself included, have made suffering an important part of the process that allows us to stay in it. Because instead of looking at it as suffering, which makes the energy feel denser, see it as opportunity, which makes it feel lighter. When we're shifting, we are looking at different ways of the same thing. So see where you give yourself permission to suffer, because guess what? Through your power of creation, you will create suffering. Because everything that we're experiencing is by choice. So if you know that everything that you are perceiving, you're giving it the definition you want it to have, do you really want to perceive suffering when you can just see an opportunity for something different? And again, feel into the answer, because the logical mind has an answer to everything. And we justify our suffering. We have all justified, I should feel bad because I got fired. I should feel bad because I was in a divorce.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I think the way that you define it, label it is important in how you perceive it.
It's everything.
I think what the point I felt like I was trying to make was that feeling out of touch because you're not feeling happy all the time, I think is just as destructive to me.
It is destructive. When we're in denial of our fear, it's destructive. But when you recognize that you can love yourself through the fear and then it's not fearful, now it's an opportunity that I'm moving through. This is stretching me. This is a very challenging, I mean, that's a great point. It's a very challenging conditioning that we have, because we have been taught that we really truly are supposed to suffer when things don't go our way. Otherwise, why have we been working so hard and suffering to get our way?
But if you're loving yourself through the fear, you're still acknowledging that there's fear.
Well, suffering is more of a victim, like this happened to me, whereas, instead of going, okay, wow, I got fired, dang, I don't want to go home and tell my husband, my wife, you have all those negative emotions, whereas, dang, they just set me free. That
And
means,
most people can't go there right away,
yeah.
but the acknowledgement to you is that I'm experiencing
Mhm.
that I got fired in it. I'm experiencing the fear of it.
Right.
So here's something I want to say. This is a journey, and wherever we are on the step, I did not get to where I am without experiencing the suffering along the way. But what I came to realize is that the suffering was always because I was more invested in experiencing what I'm not. It's the recognition of being what I'm not. And once I began to say, oh, I'm experiencing suffering because I don't want to be what I am. In this moment, I don't want to feel expansive. I want to feel contracted. That no longer lying to myself is what had things begin to shift. So I brought the suffering to show me that I don't enjoy that anymore. So it really becomes something that we're playing with. We will most likely not go in most of our experiences, in temporal experience, we're not going to go from here to free. We're not going to go from bondage to free like this. We could if we wanted to, because we do it all the time. We shift our thoughts about things all the time. When we make the decision to leave the job, we went from not enjoying it to free in that second. I'm going to turn my resignation. But when somebody else does it to us, it's in their temporal time and not ours. So now there is a separate person doing something to me. That's when we go into the victimhood. Oh, they did something to me. Versus they're an opportunity for me to see, how am I going to show up and deal with this thing? So yes, acknowledge that the suffering has helped you see that you don't want to suffer anymore. But don't let your mind, not that this is what you're doing, but don't let your mind tell you that suffering is okay. This is the paradox. It helped me see what I don't want to be. But once I know what I am, then suffering is totally an illusion. It was an illusion that had you feel limited, because the suffering is only what's happening in how I'm dealing with the situation. It's only in our minds. That's why it's an illusion, because it's a perception in my mind from a limited, finite aspect of it. Because if we were to ask the all-knowing source, why am I being fired? It knows, well, it's because you're gonna have to go to work in Starbucks, and in Starbucks, you're gonna meet the man of your life, and when you meet the man of your life, you're gonna end up, he's gonna have a company, and when he gets, when you are married, he's gonna want you to do the thing that you've always wanted to do, because that's what you say you wanted to experience. Every time that we have a yearning to experience something, it's because that something is meant to be experienced by us. We're never imagining something that's not possible for us. But we suffer because we're clinging to a limitation and not to the fulfillment of our heart's desires. Does that make sense? Every time we're suffering is because we have limited ourselves. So when you move through the suffering, acknowledge, wow, I really was limiting myself. Now all of a sudden, we're not justifying suffering anymore. Now you don't need suffering as your teacher if you realize that you don't have to have suffering as a teacher. You can have joy as a teacher. But most of us are so condensed into a finite idea of who we are. Breaking out of that rigid idea of who we are feels like suffering. Because the energy is expanding, and you got to go with the flow of the energy. You got to ride that wave until it frees you and you're far out enough of the limitation so you can be open to the eternalness of infinite possibilities. Again, it's a paradox. Suffering helps you, but you don't have to suffer to help yourself. So it's kind of a fine line, but you have to go through that experience a couple of times until you see it's just an opportunity. How do I want to experience it? You were smiling over there.
Were you talking to me?
Yes,
Yeah.
can you share what you were smiling about?
Well, I was remembering quitting a job, and it was so much, it was like, yippee, it was like, or being fired, or having something on, like the freedom, like, yippee, all my stuff is in storage now, and I have no place to live, it's like, thank God, it's just, yeah, and there's a real freedom, and people noticed it in me too, and it was scary, and, it was all that other stuff, and the blue, and it was all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
See, the scariest part of this journey is being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Being honest that our suffering is caused by our perception of what's happening. Our suffering is caused by our believing that something out there is taking something from us, that something out there could give something to us. When you're eternal and you're pure energy and you are the all that isness already there being you, what can be given to you that adds to you? What can be taken from you that depletes you? It's impossible. Nothing can affect you. But in our beliefs and our conditioning, through years of repetitive, speaking it, practicing it, most people, when they experience the firing of the losing of the job, it's not just the job that they're scared of losing. It's that this is going to affect my paying for the house that defines who I am. This is going to affect my being able to drive my car. How am I going to get to work? How am I going to do things? How am I going to be able to do this? What are people going to think about me? So it has a real ripple effect of repercussion, because it's showing us all of the places where we have made ourselves very limited. Because now if I don't have the money to pay for the place that I'm living, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be homeless. We have forgotten that in this planet, there are homeless shelters. There are neighbors, there are friends, there are tents, there are trees. There's an infinite place where we can be at ease. But once we say that this is the only place that I can live in, if the job goes away, now all of a sudden you're worried about, oh my God, I can't pay the electricity, I can't pay for the house. We go into very, very myopic perception about what can happen to us, versus having it be an opportunity to, okay, if this one's changing, what else can come? We have forgotten that all is accessible to us when we are specifically focused on something, and we're no longer open to all things. Yes,
There were two things that I remember having a friend of mine who, a number of years ago, when I was starting through some of these processes, lost her job, and I said, oh, that's awful. What is the thing I can do? She said, first of all, you can stop saying it's awful. So she was teaching me. She said, I said, well, what do you want me to say? She said, I want you to say, oh, that's fabulous, because now you're going to have an opportunity to do the really wonderful thing that you really want to do. I'm like, okay. And so I had an opportunity as she was guiding me in how to support her and how she saw this whole process. And one other quick story too, when the house was in foreclosure, I was sharing with my Sunday school class that my house was in foreclosure and had been in foreclosure for a while. And there was one woman that was just like, oh, where are you going to live? 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 And finally I just said, stop. I said, there are a million places for me to live. And the Sunday school teacher thought for a minute, and he said, okay, Mary, I get that there are a lot of places that you can live, but a million? And I said, you know, you're absolutely right. A million's a low number. It's all your perception.
It is all about perception. And we're being invited to return to the place that will show us all the infinite possibilities that are available to us. When we try to figure out with our mind, we have very limited thinking. We're beginning to move, see, we've been taught, we've been conditioned to try to do things all by myself. That's part of becoming human. That's why they start saying it at 2, 3 years old. I'm going to do it all by myself, all by my lonesome self. And we're opening up to that there are others who are here to support us because we're connecting as one to become more helpful, more cooperative. And even though it's not happening in ways that we can see it in the bigger scope, the governments and so on and so forth, it is beginning to happen. It is beginning to move up. This is a grassroots movement. Be the change that you want to see in the world. It's been passed down for eons from people that we have loved and respected. And what we're doing is we're beginning to see that what I am is going to not just survive. Survival is about the temporal. It's going to thrive because everything is here to help me as the eternal energy that I am expand. Expand into the greatest possibilities of what I can be, because the all-knowingness is accessible to me when I be what I am, when I be still, when what is happening is what is happening, and I can get behind the interpretation of it and go behind the interpretation and be the experience or be the awareness that is present to what is moving, and just ask, what is this telling me about me? Perception over here is about what am I perceiving about myself, and you, my friend, are the reflection of how I'm showing up. People who love you, you're showing up as love. People who can't stand you, you're showing up as somebody who cannot be stood, or whatever, however you would say. If you're in fear of somebody, it's because you're showing up as fear. Make no mistake. What you're feeling inside of you is what you're deciding you are in that moment.
You know, this is so wonderful, and I'm actually going back to like when I made the decision to divorce, and I had Mary to be taken care of. Okay, and then there was a moment of recognizing not only was it not working, but it was unhealthy. And when I opened myself up to that, to leaving, I mean, I found the one thing that's been gone for 25 years that I never thought would go was headaches. I've not had a headache in 25 years. Now, why would I not have chosen that? Or when would I have ever thought that that could be a possibility? And I'm talking extreme headaches, you know, the kind of lay out for a couple of days. But the power of choosing to take care of myself in a world of unknowing and not knowing. And, you know, in 1 year I got divorced, I lost my job, I moved 2 times, you know, I bought a condo. It's like all these things that could have, and my dad died. So all the things that could have laid me out were all opportunities that had kept me now. But now I'm looking at, okay, Lynn, that was 25 years ago. And yes, you've had a great life and you're continuing to work. And what I'm saying, the thought that just keeps coming to me is, on the way home I have to stop and get a lot of 5-gallon trash bags, okay? Like, really, really own that. I don't need all this stuff. When I first moved to where I am, I had a roommate. She had one of the bedrooms. Today, she probably couldn't even walk into it because I put so much into what I thought was what I needed to be okay. So now there's a wonderful space for like relieving myself to provide what's next, provide the space for what's next. Yeah, yeah.
It is amazing, but the density of our thinking creates the density in our bodies. Illness, all of those things are simply denials of the energy that is eternal that I am, condensed and dense and expressing itself to get our attention. So I wonder how many things will change about your body.
Well, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, you know, I've been gaining weight this year too, after I'd lost a huge amount of weight. So as you're talking, I'm saying, oh my God. As the things go, that can go. Yeah, life can go.
But the questions that we need to ask ourselves, the way to come inside and get the answer from our inner guru, you know, whatever you want to call that, is why am I holding on to this?
Exactly.
Why do I need to hold on to suffering, to hold on to fear, to hold on to stuff, to hold on to a job? Because when I'm holding on to that, what the message I am giving is I don't deserve more than this. We've not been conditioned to think about it that way. We've been conditioned that when I got this, that makes me something, that makes me somebody. I did this, so now I get to be somebody, but that's not the way that it is. When you begin to come back to the truth of who you are, the truth of who you are is already infinite. There's nothing that can be added onto you. Why so many people go into this journey and they really truly want to downside, they want to get rid of stuff. I remember listening about Wayne Dyer at some point in his journey, realized, oh my gosh, wow, and he began to get rid of things. Downsizing was so much fun, from my big East Cup house to a 2-bedroom. I'm looking forward to getting into a little Winnebago and just travel, just be untethered, truly untethered. I can go to any lake I want to go to and just be able to enjoy all of it. The idea of ownership has been taught to us. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the idea of ownership has us be identified with the stuff that we own as making us somebody, making us something, defining us. There's nothing wrong with having it. Just question, are you just having it because it's fun? Or do you have it because you've decided that this is what now your neighbors get to see your big house, or your parents get to see how successful you are, or what is the motivation? And if it is because you want to impress somebody, say, that's how I want to experience life, I want to impress people. And then open up and have a party and impress them big time. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a journey about having the ability to enjoy all of it from a place of knowing that it doesn't add anything to you. There's something in every one of us that wants to flower and awaken and let us remember that we're already whole and complete. So that the journey of change, because in the temporal things are changing, in the journey of change, we experience it from the eternal changelessness that we are. It's like going to the amusement park. Life is like being in the amusement park. We signed up to come in. Sometimes it's going to be the scary roller coaster. Sometimes we're going to go through the love tunnel. Sometimes we're going to have a picnic on the lawn. Sometimes there's going to be a water ride. Sometimes there's not going to be water. How are you going to go through each of those experiences as what you are? The eternal, never-ending presence of Source itself, so that you can be that, and then everything is what is in that moment, and you are the eternal changeless experiencing the always changing, temporarily changing. How much we've suffered in this wonderful country of plenty, how much we've suffered when we lose something, when we lose a job or lose a thing. How much suffering happens inside of us. And the suffering was necessary because it helped you see that you're not that stuff. If you don't see that, then you will suffer again because you haven't realized that you don't have to suffer to get your lessons. is an opportunity to see what you're clinging to. Until you realize you don't need to cling to anything, and then you actually have access to everything. See, this energy is no specific thing. It's no thing, but yet it's everything. And we're living in that paradox of being the everythingness that doesn't need to cling to things, but can enjoy them while they're here. Any thoughts or comments? Actually, before we do that, just feel what's going on inside of you. Are we remembering truth here? Are you having an experience of, wow, yes, I know that? Yeah? How does that feel?
It's a familiar place, but sometimes you journey off. You know, it feels good to come home.
And we only journey off because we haven't learned how to be consistent in being grounded in that. And we're not consistent in being grounded in that because our minds have to be disciplined. Really, truly, we have to discipline our mind. That's the journey for all of us. Is what am I thinking that has me go off? Because it's always just a thought. It's just a thought that pulls us out. And here's the beautiful thing. It's just a thought that brings us back. It's the same thing both ways. A thought pulls you out, a thought brings you in. You shift out, you shift in. One just feels better than the other. It's the only difference. How are you?
Good. I guess in every opportunity you can choose to feel good or you can choose to feel bad. Higher vibration, low vibration.
But the thing won't change,
Yeah.
but you.
How you view it.
Yes.
What your choice is and how you feel about it.
Here's even crazy paradoxes. We're choosing to change our perception to the unchanging knowingness. We're playing with changing what is unchangeable. Either we're recognizing that we're making a choiceless choice. We're just returning to what we are so that what we are can just be experiencing that. We cannot choose not to be love, but we can choose to stay over here. Interesting.
One side we are what we are, but sometimes we're unconscious of it.
Yes.
And the other side is not the truth, but we're grabbing it.
We're becoming, yes. And when we're unconscious is just, listen, this is not what's taught in school. This is not what our parents knew. Because they were living inside of this, trying to prepare us to do well in the world and wanting us to have what they did not have. But we're waking up to all that stuff that we had didn't make us any happier. Maybe temporarily in the world of temporary. Temporarily we were happy with certain things. I was happy when the kids were 2. Then I got unhappy when they started talking back. Then I got happy when they went to school. Then I was unhappy that they were gone all day and I didn't have them to play with. And I was happy when they got home at the end of, after school. Then I was unhappy that they were talking all the time, not quiet. Now I was happy when they just were on vacation. And then I was like, I can't wait for you to go to school so I can be happy that you're not here. It's this constant. I can't wait to get this, and I get it, and then I can't wait to not have it. So it's constantly chasing the permanence. But the joke is, the permanent inside of us has been there all along. We just have been unconscious to it. We're not aware that in all of the shifting here, there is the permanent that has been there all along. Going, I love you no matter what. You want to suffer, suffer. You want to, be upset, be upset. You want to be happy, wow. Because it knows you can be anything you want to be. We're returning to live life from that grounded space.
I can remember the moment that I realized that being happy was a gift, a given, like it was good, and not something that I had to then flagellate myself to make myself unhappy again. or to make myself realize how unworthy I was for this moment of pure bliss. It was well, you know my background. I mean, I was a nun. I was in the process of, I did try to bring my body into submission for something. And so it was like the breaking down of this huge wall of recognizing that was no longer, not only not necessary, but there were some things of evil around it, you know?
Well, because it's separation. It is about control, it is about fear, it is about needing to
Box it.
box it in, but there is two, and somebody has to be in control.
Right.
Because we are not taught about our equality or oneness, that we could be two separate beings, but we could still be connected. So we were looked at separate, and somebody was right, somebody was wrong. In the world of duality, there's always a right or a wrong. There's a good and a bad. There's a light and a darkness. But in the world of truth, there's only light, and it's all good. It's all right. And we're breaking out of those paradigms. And as you know, it's all been in your head. Yeah?
So I guess
You've
when
come
you-
out of the limitations that your mind was constructed to believe was the way you were supposed to be. So you,
So, well, if it's all light and there's no darkness, it's like, I just thought that, you know, you can have the lights on, but if you shut your eyes, you're still in darkness. And so it's a matter of your reaction to it.
so are you really in darkness? When you close your eyes, are you really in darkness?
No, because you're not aware until you open your eyes.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Go ahead and close your eyes. Are you aware that there are people here?
Well, I can hear her breathe.
Okay, so there is an awareness inside of you even though you may not be looking.
Right.
So there is an aware presence that is with you always, that is not in darkness, that is light. That is what allows you to have this experience. That part of you is what's not changing. But because we begin to define that our eyes tell us what we see, and we label it, we box it in, we think that we are seeing through our eyes. So we think that, okay, I'm in light only when my eyes are open, but close my eyes, I'm in darkness. And yet we've got people like Helen Keller who tells us, I mean, have you ever read anything that she's written? It's amazing. She wished people could see what she saw, because she was seeing through the eyes of love. She couldn't define them, so they created an opening. So we've got to question everything that we're believing. Everything that we're perceiving has to be questioned, so that we don't delude ourselves into justifying our limitations. And by the way, it's a fascinating thing. When I coach people, they only argue for their limitations. What do you mean be happy? This terrible thing happened. All right, you could be happy that you've discovered that you are believing it's terrible. How about we be, happy about the awareness that you're perceiving something? Well, what do you mean? I can't be happy about anything. You can't be happy that you're breathing? What? It's so amazing. Look at it differently, but I can't. But they did this, but whatever. It's really a fascinating thing. And when we get a lot of spiritual information, we really can get stuck very quickly in the spiritual teachings that we are believing are the truth. And the reason I love Jesus is, to my awareness and my perception, I don't know anybody who was willing to die to be an example of the truth that what he is eternal and not a body. And the teachings that he gave were very simple. Love your source, God, Father, whatever you want to call it. Love that source, because it's what it is. And then love your neighbor. While you're here experiencing two-ness, love them. If you know that you are the energy, then you can love everybody else. You can forgive them. They forgot what they were doing. They forgot their truth, so they don't know what they were doing. So for me, those teachings are powerful when you strip away all of the interpretations, all of the perceptions that were created by fear, by people who in temporary periods of time decided that the body is what really mattered. So the man gets crucified every single year, crucified a poor guy who died to say we're sinless, but here 2,000 years later, well, everybody's born a sinner. Didn't he say we were sinless? It's like you begin to question, you gotta begin to use logic to unravel all of the structures that we have created that have limited our perception of ourselves, and begin to move out of that, expand out of that limited thinking. Because something inside of us is tired of being confined. It wants us to know that we have access to all-knowingness. That's what's waking up. The all-knowingness wants us to be connected to, well, we're not disconnected, but wants us to have access to it. Wants to dance with us.
One of the things I loved about A Course in Miracles was the different perception of the word sin. So, having been brought up Baptist, I had some conception about sin is bad and wrong. And A Course in Miracles described it, and correct me if you find this isn't the way you've seen it. But what A Course in Miracles talks about is that the only thing sin is when you think you're not with God. It means you've chosen to not see that you're one. Choose again. It's just choose again.
Yeah.
It's just like whenever you are in sin, you just thought you weren't with God. Choose again. It's a choice.
It speaks to it being a mistake. We've just made a mistake.
We made a
And
mistake.
never in judgment. That's all it is.
It's judgment.
But when you begin to take what you perceive and begin to question it, the word sin comes from a Greek term in archery called missing the mark. So we took these words and gave them meanings, and they became very solid, and then we have been using them to instill fear. Again, we're waking up to realize that what we are is not, a fragile being. We're waking up to realize that there is nothing about us that can be hurt or damaged or affected in any way. When you realize that what you are is the energy. When you recognize that you are the energy just appearing in form, then you can begin to realize that you have all-knowing to inform your form. We need to go back to the source of truth and not operate with the information that has been given to us by people who truly forgot what they were. We're shifting out of the limitations of our thinking. Very scary when we get to the place, easy to do to shift our thoughts about, I'm not going to believe that anymore. I grew up with Catholic beliefs, and I didn't believe half of the stuff they told me, so I was so comfortable with doubting. But when it came to undoing my story about who Lina is, that was an uncomfortable time. Very uncomfortable. Because I became very enamored with the idea of me. Man, was I special. And realizing that I'm no more special than everybody else. That we're all special in terms of the oneness that we are. Had me shift and not think I was such hot shit and bring me down. Or bring me up from believing I was less than anybody else. Bring me down to a place of equalizing me and letting me experience my worthiness. It does take time. But I'm going to invite you to consider this. Every single time something is happening and you're aware of something, become aware of the enjoyable and the not so enjoyable. And in that moment of awareness, just go into acceptance right there and then. Wow, I'm aware that I'm feeling good. My gosh, I accept that I drew this to myself. I'm in total acceptance of my ability to feel good based on what I'm thinking, how I'm perceiving things. When you're feeling bad, when things are not going your way, become aware, that feels tight and tense. Oh my gosh, I accept the ability to create this discomfort. Wow, I'm perceiving something and it's causing me discomfort. And then take responsibility for your thinking. What do I prefer to experience instead? That's really, truly where we're moving. Nobody out there is making us feel anything. What am I choosing to perceive about what's happening instead? I'm expansive. This can't hurt me. I'm contracted. Oh shit. It's gonna going to devastate me. I'm expanded. Ooh, what's the next opportunity? I'm contracted. Oh no. I'm expanded. Bring it on. I'm contracted. Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Be aware of it. Accept it. And recognize that you have created it because you want to see how you're showing up. That's all it is. How are you showing up? As love or fear, expanded or contracted? And then go, damn, how cool it is that I created both. How powerful am I? Powerful beyond measure. Then I can shrink my light so that others don't get offended by my magnificence, as Marianne wrote. Or how wonderful that I can express my light and I can lift everybody else with me, because when I shine my light, now we all can see. I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all. Why? Because I can. Because I have access to all of it. And I'm the one shaping it. Because I want to.
I've recently become very aware, and I'm pretty sure it was in your teachings, it kind of has sifted through to my inner being. I've been addicted to all those emotions.
Yes.
I've been addicted to the drama, I've been addicted to the negativity, I've been addicted to my family relationships, them pulling on me and me allowing it. I've begun to say, I'm not going here anymore, I have to scream to make my point anymore. And I just go, no, thank you. And I actually twice this past week, I was dealing with something awful. And I just went, I can be happy right now. I can choose to be happy right now. And I'm going to choose to be happy right now. And I actually completely succeeded twice. Now that might not sound like a big deal to somebody.
It's a big deal.
But that's
It's a big deal.
And I mean, I was lighthearted and actually went with it. And I remember what was bothering me. And I can tell you, there's been a whole bunch of stuff going on. And it's been challenging, but I have not gone into the drama.
Beautiful.
I mean, the addiction to those emotions is, and I think when I began to see how addicted I was to the emotions is when I was able to.
Yes, we're addicted to the roller coaster ride.
Yes.
Because we believe that that's the way it should be. That's what was shown to us. But moving to this evenness is so rich and expansive, because the emotion is felt. When there's sorrow, when there's joy, you feel it, but you feel it as the awareness of the feeling, not as the feeling going up and down. You're just aware of the feeling. It's rich, it's a movement, it's an aliveness.
Part of it, is such a compassionate person I've always been. Well, what have I bought into to be this caring person except my drama and becoming close to that person or what have you? Do you see what I'm saying?
It's because it's what you wanted to experience.
Yeah.
It's what you wanted to experience, to have the contrast of it, so then you can begin to see, I don't want to be addicted to that anymore. When we're whole and complete, we don't have an addiction. Addiction is simply, there's a hole in me and I need to fill. So whether it's a lover or a drug or alcohol or money or whatever it is, or titles or accolades, I need something to make me feel whole because I have a hole in me. So we are beginning to realize our wholeness, therefore we don't need to get something to complete us, to fill us. Realizing that we're already whole requires looking at all of the beliefs that we had that said that I'm not. Questioning our ideas of unworthiness.
Or letting other people tell us that we're not whole.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but see, they can say it all they want. Is if we don't accept it
Yes.
from our
But I had to
knowingness,
stop it.
they can say whatever they want to say. And you just sit there and go, well, isn't that interesting? You think I'm unworthy, and I think I'm so worthy. Wow, how cool that from your vantage point, that's what you see. But from my vantage point, I see our wholeness. How wonderful is that?
And then the mirror thing that you taught me. If you're doing that and you're projecting that on me, then it's really about you, not me.
So
If
here's,
I don't
yes.
tap into it.
And here's a powerful teaching, definitely from A Course in Miracles. Jesus told us this: do unto others as you would like to experience. If you want to experience joy, give joy. If you want to experience acceptance, be accepting. If you want to experience not judging, stop judging. If you want to experience being liked, start liking. Because when the energy that we are is expanding, if you want to be in joy, you have to be expanding the joy. If you are not enjoying life, it's because you pulled joy back. You pull the energy of joy back. Our emotions go up and down because we're releasing energy, pulling back energy, releasing energy, pulling back energy. So I love you, I hate you. I like you, I don't like you. You're wonderful, I can't stand you. So we're doing this with our energies and constantly creating the roller coaster of emotions. When you are just being what you are, you're open, you love everything. Unconditional love places no condition. But we've been taught to be conditional because our parents were conditional with us. You eat the food, you get the dessert. If you clean your room, I'll take you to the park. If you do this, then I'll show you love. So we went on and did the same thing to our children. We did the same thing to the boss. Well, if you pay me the right amount, I'll give you my magnificence. You know, if you do this, then I'll do that. This is not about tit for tat because there's nobody to be in tit for tat with. This is all about expressing. That's why it's eternal. I love you no matter what. Oh, you fired me, I love you. You left me, I love you. Cool. I experienced that experience, that process from a place of love. Wow. Then you become the constant in this world. But all these amazing teachers have been telling us. All we're doing is shifting our thoughts, shifting our perception. Very simple to do, not easy. It's a very simple process, but it's not easy. Every moment is recognizing whatever I'm experiencing is because it's what I am choosing to experience. Either I'm choosing it consciously, because now I know what I prefer, or I'm choosing it unconsciously because it's the information in my filing cabinet, all the years of information that are stored in my mind, in my supercomputer. And we're sifting through all that stuff. We're decluttering our mind, creating a space, opening up for knowledge, true knowing to come through. So we'll wrap this up. So any thoughts, comments, or questions?
When will this be on YouTube?
Um,
She was taking notes, but the rest of us are taking pictures.
Yeah.
It'll be soon. So I will ask my assistant when he will get it on there. So it'll be soon.
One of the things that's helped me recently
He
is
said within the week.
really beginning to, in a soft way, accept responsibility for how I'm feeling, what's going on in my world. But to be loving myself in the process, and I don't hear that parents screaming at me, what's the matter with you, wanting you to be responsible in so many words. But now I can go, I can do this, it's okay, I don't have to defend, I don't have to prove her right, proving our parents right the rest of our lives. I don't have to do that anymore, I can actually love myself, and I can be more responsible, and each time I take a step of responsibility, it's been amazing. It's opened up the ability to do more.
It's exciting
Yeah,
because a part of us that wants to express needs for us to let it take a step. Instead of suppressing it, it needs to be open, expressed. So it is, it's wonderful, wonderful. Is this resonating? And I hope you didn't hear anything that you didn't already know is your truth. And if it just sounded different or like a new concept, just check in. Check in with yourself. This is what we all truly are. It is what we came here to express. At all times, we're at choice in how we perceive things. We have the gift of perception. But we can perceive however we decide to perceive. And however we end up using our perception, we will experience the higher energy or the lower, the denser energy. And by higher and lower, really, it just means tighter, tense, dense, constricted, or expansive. I really thank you all for coming.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.